Yeah, I can see our little Gatvol, although I think people can see from behind us. Yeah. Hello. We're telling everybody that they started a live video. So we'll slowly start just chatting, but don't stress about it. Anyway, I am sitting here with Daniela. There we go. There's PJ. Morning, PJ. Sitting with Daniela from ARAUJO Attorneys this morning. There we go. One of my absolute favorite conveyancers. So just a quick one. How are you this morning?
All good. It's a beautiful morning here.
Yeah.
Gatvol, our go-to place.
Haven't been bitten by mosquitoes
not yet.
morning. Yeah, after the floods, I sort of cleared out all the mosquitoes for me because I always get attacked when I'm here, but I love it anyway. So Daniela, just a quick one. 5 minutes this morning. Thank you for joining me at such a
Pleasure.
So what is the difference between an attorney and a conveyancer?
So a conveyancer is basically a specialized attorney. So you have to go through the process of doing an extra exam, a conveyancing exam. It's quite a rigorous exam, and once you pass that, then you can qualify as a conveyancer. So it's someone who can sign off on your documents that go into the deeds office, and only conveyancers are allowed to obviously attend to transfers
of properties. Okay. So when we sell houses, we obviously have a lot of people that say, oh, we've got our attorney that we'll use for the transfer. And then one of the questions I always ask is it an attorney or are they a registered conveyancer itself? Because a conveyancer is what will take the documents through the deeds office.
Correct. So I think that's happening a lot in our industry, where you get some attorneys who aren't really specialised in conveyancing. They aren't conveyancers themselves, but think that they can do conveyancing because maybe it's quite easy. It's an admin task. How difficult can it be? And they appoint an external conveyancer to just sign their documents. So this comes to the detriment, obviously, of the parties because they don't have a specialised attorney dealing with the transfer, who's a specialist in conveyancing.
And they might not always have people through all the various departments and the rates departments.
Correct. And a conveyancer would obviously only do conveyancing. That's their sole focus, is their niche career. Whereas another attorney, sometimes if they attempt to do conveyancing, they might be stuck in court for a week, so the clients aren't being attended to, the file. So we always suggest, even if we're not doing the transfer, that you always go to a qualified conveyancer, and especially firms that specialise just in conveyancing. And there's quite a few. We've got quite a few in KZN.
There's quite a few that we work with as well. At Remax, and obviously Daniela is one of them. But Daniela, just one of the questions that I seem to have with a lot of my clients is in KZN, I've got quite a few attorneys that I deal with as well that are purchasing property, and then they want to say that they want to appoint their own conveyancer as themselves instead of the seller. And I know on sale agreements in KZN it does say that it's the seller's right to choose a conveyancer. Is that correct, or is there a bit of a loophole there?
There's common law provides that the seller can appoint the attorney, obviously because the seller signs the power of attorney that goes into the deeds office that allows the conveyancer to transfer the property into the purchaser's name. So that's where it comes from. It's basically out of the common law, common practice, because the seller has the biggest it's his asset, he has the biggest risk, so that's why they appoint the transferring attorney. Although purchasers do think, and it's become more and more common, that they think because they're paying the transfer fees that they have the right to appoint. But in actual fact, the responsibility of the purchaser is to fulfill the purchase price, so to pay the purchase price or to get their bond. And then obviously it's a side thing that they pay transfer fees, etc. So that's why the seller can appoint.
Okay, so that's the other thing, is a lot of people say to me, oh, they want their attorney to do the transfer because they're going to get a discounted rate, or they don't have to pay anything, which again is a fallacy, because there's a very big difference between transfer fees and transfer duties.
Correct.
Can you just quickly
so the transfer duty is the amount that you pay to SARS. So that is a determined amount based on a tariff Everyone pays the same. It's based on a sliding scale determined on the purchase price.
Yeah.
That you can't get away from. You have to pay transfer duty. Of course, if the property is under R1 million, then it's transfer duty exempt. Transfer fees, that is the fee that the conveyancers can charge for attending to the transfer. So again, there's also guidelines that the Law Society set for conveyancers to charge the fees. We should all stick to those guidelines. So where attorneys say, oh, we can give a 50% discount, they're really undercutting the industry because every attorney should be able to charge the same amount. There's guidelines. They shouldn't charge more, and if they charge less, they can give a discount. Obviously, you're allowed to give discounts determined case by case. So that's the difference. And then there's obviously deeds office fees, there's various disbursements that also have to be paid that can't be discounted.
And then does the seller and the purchaser have to pay, or just the purchaser?
No, so the purchaser pays in KZN.
In KZN,
yeah.
Okay. All right. And then so bond registration, attorney fees, bond cancellation, attorneys.
Yes, so bond
as well?
Yeah, so bond registration, attorney. So if the purchaser is getting a bond, the same thing, they would have to pay the bond registration attorney's fees for attending to the bond registration, and that's also it's set at the same tariff as the transfer fees, and it's determined on your bond amount.
Okay, so my purchaser could potentially say to their bond or their bank that I want that attorney to then do the registration, and then that's where they could negotiate the discount, etc.
Exactly. And
if the seller still wants to choose their own conveyancer.
Yes, so the purchaser has their choice to then choose the bond registration.
Okay. No, that's perfect.
And then the bond cancellation fees, that would obviously be for the seller. So if they have a bond over the property, then the bank which they have their bond with would choose an attorney, would appoint an attorney to attend to the cancellation of that bond, and then there's a small fee that needs to be charged. It's usually between 4,500 to 5,500.
Because that's what I was going to say, because on the cost calculator schedules that we get, there's never a bond cancellation fee there. So is that just a set amount from the attorney?
Yes.
Yeah.
To attend to the actual, there's a little bit of paperwork that needs to be done. The bond cancellation attorneys have to get a consent from the bank to basically cancel that bond, and that gets lodged simultaneously with the transfer and the deeds office.
Okay, perfect. And then just before I ask you for that last little process of what actually happens from start to finish, I know sometimes in KZN there's also this discrepancy with the stove. Because in other provinces, the stove is usually excluded or included, and in KZN it's excluded. Yes, but lately people just leave their gas stoves because they're fitted, well, they're not fitted in, but everything is built around them, but so they're technically freestanding stoves.
Yes.
And it always is a do they stay or don't they, and people go, oh, if we get our price we'll leave it, but they invariably leave it anyway. So in KZN, what is the law there?
I think in any case like that where it's a little bit of a grey area, rather state it in your sale agreement, so there's no room for argument, because often people will just say that's included in the fixtures, in the fittings, because it's fitted in, and then later on it becomes an argument down the line. So if you want it to be excluded as a seller, state there emphatically that it's excluded, and obviously if it is included, then state that it is included. But the general rule that is, if it's fixed in, like if it's got granite around it, it's going to be included because it's fitted into the kitchen. But if it's like the smeg stoves that freestanding and you can just wheel out, I would say that you can exclude that.
Okay, and then just last one, then just a gas certificate, and then the gas bottles. I've had where the gas certificate's been given, and then at handover the gas bottles have gone. So what happens with the gas bottles? Should I be writing in my sale agreement gas bottles included?
Yeah, sure. I don't know, because that's probably what the gas guys would need to
determine that.
Okay,
so that's going to be a coffee chat down the line on compliance certificate.
Have compliance certificate chat. Because that's probably the most queries we get is on compliance certificates after the fact.
All right.
Because obviously sellers don't want to pay an exorbitant amount to get the compliance is sorted out, and obviously the purchasers want everything up to scratch.
Yeah.
It's a seller's responsibility to get that done.
Okay, perfect. So they will just do a little check on that one for compliance certificates down the line. And just a quick 1 minute brief of transfer processes. Obviously you get the sale agreement, you're always amazing. You open up that file and you send us emails straight away. I know you always contact the rates department within the day.
Yeah, so as soon as we get the sale agreement, we all over it within the first 45 minutes.
Yeah.
We have a rule in our office that we need to send it out ASAP, contact the parties. Depending if it's a full cash deal, we send the purchaser our trust account details, call for that deposit.
The sun's coming in your face there, you're right there. You're right there.
If there's a bond, obviously we wait for when that bond date is due, but we don't, we still carry on with the file. So we apply for rates because in eThekwini, I'm sure other KZN conveyancers will know, eThekwini is probably one of the slowest municipalities in terms of rates application. Their standard turnaround time is 21 working days, so essentially it's a month before we get our figures. Sometimes we get it sooner, sometimes it takes longer depending. There's water investigations, electrical investigations, rates blocks because of plans, which is a whole other discussion. One of the first things we call for, if we see that there's a bond over the property, we get that loan account number from the seller, so that we can apply for the cancellation figures and get the title deed, because that's very important. We need to determine from the beginning if obviously the bank has the title deed, the original title deed, and if there's no bond of the property, does the seller have the original title deed?
And
because
sometimes
if
they
don't,
they've lost it.
Which is not a problem, but it does come with an extra fee, and there is a little bit of a delay because you have to advertise in a local newspaper and then lodge a special application in the deeds office, and it has to lie for inspection in the deeds office for a period of time before you can then lodge the transfer. So we don't want that to delay.
Yeah, because I know I've got one of those at the moment where they'd lost the title deed because they bought the property in 1980 something and lost it along the way. But just a quick one. So then roughly at the moment, I know there were massive delays in transfers at one point. How long does it take once a bond is approved? Cash is sort of there and deposits and guarantees are in. How long is it taking roughly?
6 to 8 weeks. The deeds office have sped up. They're very quick at the moment, so obviously we take advantage of that now. I had a matter the other day that lodged on the Monday, and by the Wednesday it was up for fee. Lodged and registered within a week.
Well done.
So that's very quick, and it all depends on, we always say whether the stars align. If we've got a seller who's on the ball, a buyer who's on the ball, pays his fees, the full purchase price is secured,
rates department
plays their part, which sometimes they do,
up to date,
all of that sort of things. Compliances are done quickly, then you can get it done easily within 6 weeks. And then 6 weeks I'd say to lodgement, and then depending in the deeds office, we usually say 7 to 10 working days. It's been sooner.
Perfect. So I think that's our little 5 to 10 minutes done this morning. Although we're going to stay on and have some more of a chat, because like we always do. Give it just 5 minutes with the two of us. But thanks so much everyone for joining in on this Women's Month. On a Tuesday, I'm going to interview lovely ladies in the industry. So if you've got any questions or ideas of who you'd like me to interview over the next couple of weeks, just pop me a WhatsApp or a direct message. And obviously for any of your property questions, send them to myself, and then obviously Daniela at ARAUJO Attorneys. Thank you so much for this morning, and we'll chat to all of you soon, and I'll see you next Tuesday.
Have a good week.
Cheers.
Bye.
Here we go. End video.